When I did the first coat of finish on my dashboard, I used a brush. I had some problems with finish getting inside the dog holes and needed to go through it with a reamer, and I said that I would be revisiting my technique to see if I could do better on the second coat. And so I have applied a bunch of masking tape again, and I am ready to try a different technique. I'm going to try an HVLP sprayer. So I've let this dry overnight, and I gotta say I'm very happy with how this turned out. The top seems to have a nice protective finish on it. I did 3 coats with the spray gun, and a number of people I'm sure will think it's odd that I'm finishing the top of an MFT, especially if you're a user of a Festool MFT, where the top is more regarded as a consumable and people cut through it. But the fact remains, Dashboard has designed a system that is intended to make the top last longer. They recommend finishing it, so I want to follow that recommendation and hopefully make the top last as long as possible. So the bottom line is the spray gun approach worked way better than the foam brush I used for the first coat. Both Rob and the instructions on the can of finish expressed a preference for spraying the finish as opposed to using any other method. I shied away from that at first because my only experience with spray finishes was with an airless sprayer that I use with John Deere tractor paint to paint attachments for my tractor. And when Rob recommended spraying the finish, I couldn't get that image out of my head, and it just didn't make sense for the dashboard. But I did a bunch of reading, and I found out that HVLP sprayers, especially turbine sprayers, it's a whole different thing. They're not the same thing at all. They're not that expensive, and I could use that sprayer for a number of other purposes, so I went ahead and got the sprayer. This was my first experience with it. I have to say, when I get a new tool and I have no experience with that kind of tool and I'm successful on my first use, I am impressed with the tool. So very pleased with how this turned out and with the Fuji sprayer that I got, as well as the 3M PPS system. Like I said, my first experience with all those, everything worked out really well. Final thing, and the reason why I can say that everything worked out really well, you may have seen in the video I did about my first coat that every single dog hole on the bench was too tight for a bench dog after I finished that first coat with the foam brush. I was applying it too thick, too much finish got into the holes, and I had to go through with a reamer on every single hole carefully and clean them out, which, wasn't that big of a deal. But was the spray gun better? Way better. Most of the dog holes now, bench dogs still fit in nicely. There are going to be a few that I probably need to touch up with a reamer, but they are not the majority by a long shot. Bottom line, spray gun was way better. It was easy to use, and I got better results.